Hi and welcome to Raj TV, and today we've got Mark Robinson, Chief Superintendent of Sandwell Police. Now welcome to Raj TV.
Thank you, Imran.
Now can we just talk about Safer 6? Now it was successful last year. Now what exactly you're going to be doing this year?
Safer 6 essentially is, as it sounds, we have a operation over a 6-week period. And during that 6-week period we spend a week in each of the towns, and the reason why we do that is because we know that come October, and it's about October the 15th onwards, we know that the darker nights come, we know we have Halloween, we know we have bonfire night, there are other religious festivals
Diwali
that
as
will
well.
Keep us very busy. Exactly.
Yeah.
And therefore we know that the local constabulary need to be a little bit more visible than usual and engage with the community. But we don't just do it on our own, we work with the broader community safety partnership here within Sandwell, the voluntary sector, and we work as a team, and there will not be a day during the 6-week period where we're not active in the various towns. And with regards to last year, we ran that operation. We think it was very successful, and the feedback from the community, which is important, suggested it was successful.
How many raids did you do last year?
We did many raids actually over that 6-week period. Significant numbers of raids.
Any successful? I mean,
yeah, many successful. Drugs secured, individuals arrested, assets seized, and at the end of it, significant reductions in crime during that period. So that's our challenge for this year, that we run the same sort of operation and have the same sorts of successes, but with the backdrop that it went really well last year. And one thing I would stress, Imran, it's not just about the police. We work closely with the broader partnership and the voluntary sector in this. So it's not just about your local West Midlands Police, what they're doing in the area. We engage with the communities, we engage with the partnership, and we come up with a plan which effectively is all about teamwork.
And what's your priority first? Is it the public safety, robbery? Because there's a lot of robberies these days, as you know, we hear that quite often. What's your priority?
Well, just on the robbery front, and just so we're clear on it, we've got significant reductions in robbery so far this year. We're up and around the 35% mark. But one robbery is too many robberies, and it's as simple as that. So our priorities for the operation is always going to be community safety first and foremost. But if we break that down, we are looking to reduce the amount of robberies that occur during that period, and I stress beyond, reduce the amount of burglaries in that period and beyond, to reduce antisocial behaviour, and to deal with any of the environmental issues that many of our partnership colleagues can help us with. For example, we know the areas that have got excess litter, or those places where perhaps the standard of the environment, through litter often, but not always litter, has got worse, and we'll go in there with the partnership and try and make the community feel like they're a lot safer in that area, because if it's looking messy and it's litter strewn, well, we can do something about that, and we've certainly got the partnership focusing. So the priorities are community safety, and within that, robbery, burglary, antisocial behaviour, and cleaning up the environment over that 6-week period.
And how many officers, there's involvement in Safer 6, and what happens with the other parts of the crime? Right.
The officers will vary from day to day. Some days we'll have anything up to 30 officers on that particular job, other days more, other days less. But importantly, linked in with the local community and linked into the voluntary sector and the broader community safety partnership. So genuinely, Imran, that will vary from day to day. But from our perspective, whilst all that is going on, and it's important to stress to our communities, we're still doing all the other police stuff that they're used to us doing 24/7 throughout the whole of the calendar year. So we're not moving resources and leaving other areas bare. What we're actually doing is focusing those resources in a sustained fashion on the various towns of Sandwell, so that for at least a week they will look and feel a difference within those communities. But yeah, the rest of the stuff, as ever, still goes on.
I mean, why in autumn do you choose that? I mean, is it just because of the darker days, or
to some extent. What we do now as an organisation, which I'm very proud of actually, is we don't just stick our finger in the air and decide to do something. We know when our crime increases will occur. Both anecdotally and statistically, as soon as the clocks go back, we can expect the darker nights to allow an environment where your robbers or your burglars might find it a little bit easier. What I would suggest here as the commander for Sandwell Borough and I feel confident in talking on behalf of the Community Safety Partnership as well, is we recognise that, and therefore we put something in place so that we set the tone as we move into those darker periods. Having said that though, Sandwell at the moment is really enjoying good reductions in all of our serious equivalent crime areas and antisocial behaviour. So to actually reduce the numbers in the current context, I'm pleased to say, will prove to be a challenge, but it's a challenge we're happy to engage in, and we're confident we can do some really good work with the partnership.
Is there any changes in police work? I mean, we see less police on streets sometime. You know, is there any sort of changes?
There are changes. We've gone to a new model of policing within the borough.
Right. Tell me a bit about that.
In essence, we recognise as any organisation at the moment that we've got money to save. The government have asked West Midlands Police to save over a 4-year period approximately £127 million. Sandwell has had to contribute as much as anybody else. So we looked at the introduction of a policing model which is called continuous improvement. In essence, what that does is it puts more police officers on the street at the times when we need it, as opposed to generically just having X amount of officers on at any one time. So through quite a complicated process where we look at the demands made on the police service, we look at how many calls for service we get, we look at how many reports of antisocial behaviour we have, how much crime we have, and a formula which is quite sophisticated then dictates to you how many officers you need at any one time. And also there is a methodology of working now which is very different to what we did before, and you've got sort of a conveyor belt method. The important thing is that we deliver the service to our customers when they want it. So just as some examples, we have what we call diary cars that run now. So if you were to be unfortunate and were a victim of crime, you could phone the station up, and as opposed to a police officer coming straight away, which might be at your convenience, in which case that's the approach we'd adopt, you might want us to come tomorrow at around about 5 o'clock when you get home from work, and we will accommodate that. That's a method of policing that we weren't using before. The benefit to the people who are the victims is they have a police officer at their convenience. The benefit to us as an organisation is we can plan our days, sometimes up to 3 days in advance, so we can manage that load over that period more effectively. So that's just one example of how we now operate. We're about 8 weeks into that new model of policing.
8 weeks.
8 weeks, yeah. Early indications and the assessments we've done is it's going very, very well. Crime is certainly dropping off. The reports for our service are, in some instances, depending on the time of the day, where they used to be, and we seem to be managing that very well. It is true to say that the cutbacks in government affects West Midlands Police and therefore affects Sandwell. But I'm quite confident, and certainly my officers are, having spent some time with a group of my sergeants this afternoon, they're quite confident that the model's working well. And the feedback we get from the community is that we are more flexible now than we were before, and that seems to suit them. One thing I will stress though is that it's early days, and I recognise that the question to ask really is probably in 12 months' time, how is it now? And I'm very mindful as the commander that we're providing a service. We want that service to be as good, if not better, and after 12 months of working this new model in, I'll be in a better position to sort of comment with a little bit more authority about it. But I guess for me the headlines would be so far so good, and the feedback from the partnership and importantly the community members are that they're enjoying the service we're providing, accepting that there's always going to be some out there that aren't happy, but we'll do our best to please them as well. Now, number plate crime, I mean that's I mean, what do you say about that? Because that's on the increase. The number, it's not significantly on the increase for Sandwell. We, along with many parts of West Mid, suffer from number plate crime. But the reality with that is often people steal the number plates to go on and commit petrol theft or other types of crime.
As well,
We have a team of detectives and uniform officers that work within our criminal investigation team. Who review all those types of crime on a daily basis. They identify where we can find who the offenders are, and we very quickly go out and arrest them. One of the difficulties with number plate theft is sometimes it could be the loss of a plate as opposed to a theft, and it's difficult to decipher sometimes which is which. However, the officers are fairly well skilled in this area now. They'll go back and engage with the injured party, and where we're happy that there's been a theft of the number plate, we investigate it as best we possibly can, but with competing demands elsewhere.
And do you work with the councils as well?
Yeah, we work.
City council.
There's very little that we don't do that we do now where we don't work with the council. I have my own local priority group, which is all around crime and community safety.
And what sort of help do you get from council, or what sort of crime?
They're very
on the crime?
They're very, very supportive. The reality is, as resources shrink, the need for us to be an efficient and effective partnership is all the more important. And I'm actually very proud of what we achieve with the Ann Britton and the local authority and the community safety teams. And although the area I perform at is very strategic, there is very little, if anything, we do that doesn't impact locally. So yeah, I think my relationship with the council's good. I think we have some objectives and some focus which is in line with what I'm trying to deliver locally. And I guess Safer 6 would be as good an example as I could give you.
What about member of the public? How sort of close work do you do with them?
I think my neighbourhood officers are very close. In fact, this afternoon I have sat down with a group of sergeants, quite a few of which are my neighbourhood sergeants.
So do you get a lot of information from
all the time?
Public? Yeah.
They will always pass us information. There's a variety of ways they can ring it into us.
Does it sometimes annoying when you get a lot of calls coming through, and sometimes someone's keep ringing up and you know, they're not getting any result?
Do we find it annoying?
Yes.
No, we're here to serve you.
No, sometimes, you know, there's a person, you know, who's making us so many calls that there's a crime on my road.
Yep.
And, you know, it's been there for weeks and weeks. And because basically it's not on the reduction side.
No, the things I would say about we are very often a police service, and Sandwell's no different, is only as good as the information that the community feed into us.
Right.
So even if people out there feel like they might be a nuisance, and I certainly don't view them as a nuisance, but if they feel that way, I just ask them to think again. My officers are normally at their best. And here I can think of examples of raids within the LPU when information has been passed from the local community that we act upon. I think it's important to stress that we can't just act upon what we call single strand. We have to try and corroborate that, because if it does result in surveillance, or if it does result in swearing a warrant and forcing someone's door in, we need to make sure that that was necessary, proportionate, and all the things that you would hope we would do with the Human Rights Act in mind.
That's right.
But actually, in the vast majority of cases, that's entirely doable, and we do act upon that information. So I'd just encourage everyone to keep sending it in to us.
And coming back with the Safer 6 now, it's once in a year you do that. If it's more in future, if it's successful, would you be sort of looking into more than you know, once a year? Or
I think I think it's important to stress that sets us off on a journey into the darker nights, the autumn, and then into the winter, and that's just the way we start that journey. At any one time, we will be running anything between 3 and 6 fairly significant operations across the borough. So that just sets the tone, and then we carry on from there. Very often with effective offender management. One of the areas of business which I'm fairly confident has improved since my tenure and coming here is our offender management. We know who our burglars are, we know who our robbers are, we know where they live, and we engage with them, as does the broader partnership when it comes to tenancy agreements. And what we've been particularly robust at in the last 18 months is identifying who those offenders are and knocking their door and engaging them and their families, and if appropriate, executing warrants at those addresses and taking the assets off them.
And do you think there should be a tougher sentence on the, like a rogue traders, and because I keep repeating you know,
my view as a cop is probably, I have got quite a hard view when it comes to jail sentences and sending them to jail, and you know, I wouldn't be true to myself if I didn't admit that. The reality is the vast majority of people out there are really good people. And they are deserving of a protective and caring police service. And when we do take offenders out of circulation and put them in front of magistrates or judges and present the evidence, and it's compelling evidence, I would like to see some of them sent to prison for longer. However,
do you get disappointment? Do you
always. As an ex-detective, as an ex-serial investigation officer, having investigated murders and shootings, when you see people go to court who are dealt with leniently, that doesn't always sit well with me. However, it's not just about sending people to prison either. For those who are drug dependent, it's about helping them and referring them on. For those who are alcohol dependent, it's about helping and referring them on. So you need a healthy balance between offender management, which involves putting them in prison, but offender management that involves diverting them away to prison, but getting them out of their offender habits. And I think we've got a decent blend here at Sandwell, and we get a good mix, and we deliver it properly.
Right, okay. Thank you very much, Mark Robinson. Is there anything else you could sort of, final words before we wind up?
What I would say is, and this is the same as I say to my staff, it's very much about teamwork. You've quite helpfully mentioned about intelligence coming in from the communities. I'm very much an intelligence-driven operational police officer. It is quite rare that cops come across crimes in action, but members of the community see it all the time, and they know about those vans that shouldn't be parked there. They know about those drug dealers in the street that shouldn't be dealing, and they'll know about the kids in the street that are causing problems for the local neighbourhood. What they need to do is tell us about it, whether it's talking to the local neighbourhood officer or PCSO, phoning it in, or going onto the website and making contact via that way. I'm more than personally happy to take that information, but there's lots of vehicles with which they can do it. And as I said before, we're only as good as the ears and eyes of our community. So keep sending the information in.
Any tougher message for the criminals?
My message is always tough for the criminals. Don't commit crime. But if you do commit crime, do it safe in the knowledge there are enough coppers out there to catch you doing it. And if we do, you're going to have to stand by your own conviction, because we will arrest you, we will investigate you, and where it's the appropriate thing to do, we'll send you to prison.
Well, thank you very much coming to our studio here. And
thank you.
Best of luck for the future.
Thank you for your time. I've enjoyed that.